League. We are here with week 4 of season 13. And we have an exciting time ahead of you as it's Spectre versus PUDS here in game number 2. Puds, I believe, got off to a rollicking start from what I've heard, absolutely stomping Spectre in game number 1. We're going to see whether or not this premier team is going to be able to bounce back. I'm Nyarko on play-by-play here with the illustrious Nakana on color. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good, thanks for asking. I'm interested to see these two teams play together that I have not seen before.
Yeah, for sure. We're kind of coming out of nowhere. Very little context, but sometimes that brings you the best of games. Really excited for this one. And already we're seeing a pretty good grip on the meta from both of these squads. Hecarim banned out alongside that Zac. And now we are seeing the Misfortune first lock in here for the side of Spectre on blue. Red going to answer right back with Seraphine and Maokai. And now it looks like we're going to be getting more engaged in this game with that Amumu hover.
I'm seeing a lot so far from both sides of potential for some really good juicy team fights. That Seraphine ult, the Maokai ult, all of their ults in general, have the potential to really turn any team fight.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to see that Spectre is not backing down here. They are going to continue to go for a very confrontational style here in game number 2, even after what was a rocky start to this series. That Amumu going to be doing so much in team fights to help lock down some of these core members of a red squad. Sejuani going to be their final lock-in for this first pick phase up against PUDS. And now we'll see what the response will be. Sejuani, great flex potential right now. Can't even go into the support role. I've been seeing that pop up recently, but I imagine that Amumu is just so darn good there that Sej is probably going to either be in the hands of Swagasm or Jodron in the jungle or top lane, respectively. And Red going to continue to go for peel and teamfight oriented champions here. That Janna coming out.
I'm seeing a lot of picks that can often flex support, but I'm
Mhm.
imagining that red side's definitely going to put that Janna in the support. Although from blue side, I can't really tell yet, and maybe they haven't even picked their support yet.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of flex potential there. And I think that's going to lead to the way that people approach bannings here. You kind of see immediately Puds goes to ban away that Victor, pinching out that mid lane, which is the least likely to have been confirmed right now by Spectre. I like this call, but the fact that everybody's playing pretty loosey goosey in these roles is a very, very astute call because it makes these bans kind of less valuable. And you kind of have to go for these more general flex removals. As we do see the Kaisa coming out here, Spectre kind of gambling that Seraphine is going to be taken into the mid lane.
Yeah, and we're seeing some mid lane bans coming out from red side as well. We're taking out that Victor, I see. Always a good thing. You don't want that kind of scaler on the enemy team for sure.
Yeah, Cassiopeia, another scaler that you don't want to see. Spectre banning that one out.
Red side, I think, is looking pretty interesting to me so far in terms of their picks. I am very interested to see who goes where, and definitely that goes for blue side as well.
Yeah, I
Come
mean,
on, red side,
honestly,
give us something.
yeah, honestly, Puds already drafting 3 supports. Why not just grab a Master Yi, go ham, get everybody there shielding, healing, or peeling for some big carry. Olaf kind of fits that characteristic, actually. I think they're going to do a really good job pushing through the CC that Amumu and Sejuani bring to the table. So this is a pretty solid call. Once again, big flex potential out of this champion. Maokai can either go top or jungle. Same thing goes for this champion.
Yeah, it looks like both teams are kind of opting for a style of play that seems to be lock down the enemy team for
Mhm.
our big, strong characters to just run through them. So we're gonna have to see who runs faster and harder, I guess.
And this is one of the valuable things that we were talking about regarding the fact that you have such big flexes in your first round of champions here, Nakana. Aatrox being picked in the second round of selections. This is not something that you see at all because it's just so high priority right now. Very powerful, and I'm happy to see it go over to Spectre. Silas follows up along with it.
So I imagine we're gonna see either an Amumu or Sejuani support here. I'm leaning towards Amumu because that's what I see more often, but you
Mhm.
did in fact mention that Sejuani can fill that role as well. And I'm excited to see what Red Side's last pick is going to be.
Yeah, definitely. Answering up against Blue's very dive oriented team composition, who's able to steal a lot of core ultimates away from your team, is a scary prospect. Silas has so many good targets for this one, and it looks like the Corki actually going to be coming out here for Puds. They're going to be putting that into the hands of Landrin in the mid lane.
I see. So that's going to be a Corky mid versus Silas. Hmm. I'm excited to see how this pans out. There's a lot of good damage and a lot of good CC on both sides. And I guess it really is going to come down to who's able to play those team fights better and get their various advantages across the map.
Yeah, and honestly, I do think that Spectre has come away with the advantageous draft here, if I'm honest. And that comes down to the fact that they've been able to pick so many solid answers to what Puds brought to the table. And they were able to leverage that B1 pick super well and still manage to get a bunch of other high priority champions alongside it. That Aatrox and Silas, I think, are going to do so much to shore up their composition and make sure that it's very difficult for these champions who love for good engages to go down, like the Seraphine, like the Maokai. They'll actually be punished if people aren't positioned perfectly.
For sure. And I'm also seeing a lot of like on red side we're seeing a lot of early game and late game pressure,
Mhm,
which I am definitely also seeing on blue side. So I
mhm.
think it's really going to come down to who plays it better. I think both of these comps stand a very good chance at really just rolling over the other team, and I'm hoping to see some really interesting plays.
Yeah, definitely. Don't get it wrong. I do think that Puds outscales in this composition. The Seraphine and the Corki are going to be doing so much to shore up that late game. But really, Puds does have to worry about this early. The high tempo jungling style that comes out of Sejuani, I think, is really going to help shore up the fact that Spectre is looking to mob up on lanes to begin with. I mean, Sedge, great frontliner here. Aatrox can heal so much once they complete first item, and Silence. Just a terror on the Rift both early and late, especially if he could get fed, taking away some of these core ultimates like Ragnarok, like Encore.
Yeah, and I definitely don't think we should forget about the Janna. That's definitely going to be one of those important picks that's able to really push away a lot of the engage that comes out
Mhm.
from blue side, you know, with the ultimate, the tornado, there's a lot of potential for this team to disengage away from any engages as well.
For sure. I was just waiting for you to bring up the Janna because it is your champion to a degree, or at least recently. I remember you grinding for that new skin that came out. So I wanted to give you first dibs to talk about Fun Phoenix's selection here. It's not something you get to see a whole lot in coordinated play. I feel that she's much better at stomping in solo queue, but I'm happy to see it come out here. And interestingly enough, for Puds, they're actually taking Maokai top lane to go into the hands of Captain Holden Nerubius, the one going to go on to the Olaf.
I see. And it looks like we're probably going to see Seraphine ADC, unless you did mention that the mid laner would be taking over Corki.
Yeah, I imagine that Corky bot is a few years too late to really be playable. And I think that Seraphine mid right now up against the Silas is just kind of a recipe for disaster. Yeah, Landrin going to hover lock in that Corky.
For sure, but you never know what could work out in these games. After all, I'm sure you remember your Alistair mid game that you speak fondly of.
I have nightmares about it till this very day, Nakana. Yeah, but overall, things kind of going as was planned regarding the placement of all of these champions. It is going to be Swagasm on that Sejuani in the jungle, and Amumu support really is just kind of where that champion is best right now. So I'm happy to see that selection locked in. The Jano response to the Amumu is also a dynamic that I really want to talk about with my fellow support main on cast here.
Of
Nakana, I
course.
actually think that this is such a solid call by Puds to try to answer back against Amumu early. Well placed tornadoes and that ult, especially once you crest level 6, going to be so impactful. I'm making sure that Amumu cannot set up for big ganks from Swagasm or a bullet time from learning.
That's true. Although I'm definitely noting that hold on, I've got my colors mixed up. I'm definitely noting that blue side has some much better distribution of damage than red
Hmm.
side. I know that we do see a split on both teams, but it looks like red side is going to be more oriented towards that AP, while blue side seems to have a more even split on their side.
Yeah, MR definitely the way to go in this game. Corki probably still going to be building hybrid, has been the meta for the past year or so. Olaf really the only concentrated source of AD on that team, especially if Maokai just going to build a traditional tank style there. So yeah, Puds definitely need to be wary of the fact that everybody's going to start rocking those Merc shreds pretty quickly in the game for Spectre. But regardless of the developments of this round, we're going to have to throw it to a quick break here to wait out the rest of the spectator delay. This is going to be an exciting one for sure, though. Remember, everybody, Spectre is down a game already. This is game two of a best of three. We'll see whether or not they'll be able to bounce back with this solid draft and answer up against Puds, taking this to a decisive game number three. Everyone have a good one. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Black Twitch League. We are here with game number 2 between Spectre and Puds. And this is going to be a fun one for sure. Solid team comps coming out of both sides. A lot of meta champions getting through that pick ban. And so it's going to be an action-packed one for sure. Spectre looking to bounce back up against Puds, who did so well in game number 1 to shut down their plans. We'll see whether or not history will repeat itself here as Nerubius and Swagasm just facing off near that pixel bush. Captain Holden coming on down and Landrin rotating into the area. Kush coming through from the mid lane for Spectre as well. And now we got a chase down into the enemy jungle. Push forward. The Angry Showerhead is on for Landrin. Kush has to pass over the wall with that flash. Jodron now getting chased down as well. Goaty gets slowed by the Graggy Ice Axe being thrown their way. And now Fun Phoenix has had the time to rotate on up. The Aatrox is caught out in the river. Doesn't have flash. First blood goes over to Puds.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't let me say anything at the start of the game, because I would have asked for an invade. So, we just got that anyways. It was so...
Feeling good on this one?
Yeah, feeling very good. I love that they're fighting it out already. Keep doing it. Keep it up, guys.
Yeah, for those of you not in the know, Nakana wants to see blood and not much else. Lots of action is the recipe for success with her, so we'll keep this up, hopefully, for both sides. Spectre now down a substantial chunk of gold and also a little bit late on starting up this buff, and this is going to allow for Puds to actually get solid priority over this lane with their Olaf starting topside.
Yeah, definitely the Aatrox player seems to be taking it quite well, given the abundance of thumbs up emotes. But I will say it's the champion itself is not to be underestimated in the top lane. I feel like one mistake from the Maokai could result in Aatrox turning the tides quite quickly.
Yeah, and look down here, we're getting a cheese gank out of Swagasm. They're going to push forward down onto Sleasen, and another Bandage Shots is going to be able to seal their fate. Amumu picks that one up, and Spectre evens out that kill score.
Yeah, we talked about the Janna being a good counter to all the engage that blue side is bringing out, but it looks like that hasn't been enough to save her Seraphine this time around.
Yeah, not when your cooldowns are online and you're level 1, and now we got some action topside. Nerubius pushing down in. Jodron doesn't have that flash from that earlier play, so he's going to be in a lot of trouble just trying to trade one back against Captain Holden, but he's in the blender now, and the Maokai will be able to pick that one up. One more kill over to the side of Puds.
Yeah, but that Aatrox definitely can't catch or break this game, it seems, so far.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the name of the game here. Jodron has to burn that teleport to get back up here just to make sure that they don't lose too much XP or CS from that wave. But they're in an awkward spot because right now Nerubius has been given the green light to just continue to focus this top side.
Yeah, and definitely props to red side for really, I think, diving into their potential for early plays with that Olaf on their team. And it looks like Aatrox is being unfortunately punished over here for it.
Doing a good job holding their own, threatening Captain Holden just a little bit as they were able to grab a refillable and sustain through that initial wave of damage that Nerubius brings to the table once they return to the lane. But the thing to look out for here is that Captain Holden has a much more comfortable wave state to back against. Might still use the teleport just to pressure this top side of the map, but regardless, they are very much an advantage up there. Crit trying to go back on in against Fun Phoenix, throws out that Q. Not going to hit that first charge though, but action across the rift going to continue to come through.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping to see some more plays from the red side Olaf on other lanes for now, since he has got his Maokai into a very comfortable position. I think it's time to look at regaining some ground in the bot lane and mid lane, perhaps.
Yeah, Kush going for a huge trade up against Landrin, and Swagasm actually going to try to provide a little bit of assistance while Captain Holden just now crests over that level 4 mark. Jodron trying to bait here. See the Bush Baby over the wall now, and here comes the engage. Captain Holden with a solid repel off that W, pushing back, will have to flash out, but gets to safety up against the combined might of the jungler and topside for Spectre.
Good bait by the Aatrox there for sure. Definitely interested to see what comes out of that lane now that the The tides have turned slightly in the favor of blue side, at least.
Oh,
Oh,
Landrin in a whole lot of trouble. Sorry to cut you off there, Nakana, but the flash is not enough to save the Corki, and so they're going to fall. Meanwhile, topside, it looks like we're getting a dive set up here. Swagasm going low, taking too many tower shots. They're gonna fall, and Nerubius is able to return to the mid lane to clean up against Kush. So across the board, it's a 2-4-2. Both of these teams holding even in that exchange, and right now we see Puds slightly ahead with one extra kill and a bit of gold on their side.
yeah, definitely not sure how worth that dive was for blue side. Especially given red side's current lead and advantage, and they're about to get a dragon off of Sejuani's dive top lane as well.
Yeah, this is a big call now by Puds, but it might be a little bit foolhardy. Look at the health difference. Crit and Learning able to push up here. They have engaged potential, and now it's going to be the 4-man. Nerubius falls. Blue team steals the dragon away as well. Landrin in a whole lot of trouble. Caught out entirely here. Crit gets ignited, has to back on off, but it's still going to be 2 kills so far for Spectre off that play, and Kush continuing to push forward. Flashes down to Slydison, is able to get it as well, and so this is a huge turnaround for Blue Squad.
I shouldn't have said anything at the start of that fight, goodness me. I didn't know they were going to turn it directly around like that.
Yeah, big call. Caster Curse very much upon us right now, Nakata. But honestly, I'm happy to see it. This is a huge sea change now for the side of Spectre. They're very much ahead on that gold count now. And Jodron has stabilized so well from that play off of Swagasm. They're able to actually go toe-to-toe with Captain Holden for the time being. Now Nerubius trying to get something done, answering back against the Sejuani. But we do see the Boar Rider manage to get out of the enemy territory back towards the safety of that river, and they will get out alive.
Yeah, definitely the scoreboard is looking a little wonky right now. Definitely red side is going to have to be very careful of this Silas mid.
Yeah,
which
for sure.
they're
Landrin
currently
and
engaging on.
Rubius. Yeah, now pushing down on it to Kush as you're talking about Nakana. And we are seeing the rotation down from Captain Holden. They have that ultimate up, so maybe if you see a bigger mob here in this topside river, a fight can actually come down. But right now, Shelly hasn't quite spawned yet. I think that that's what everybody's looking for, and Puds doesn't want to use too many resources before that core fight.
Yeah, and for sure, like that Silas also looking very juicy right now, so definitely like not what red side wants to see. Silas is definitely one of those characters that's gonna be very hard to shut down once he's fed, which he already is. But if they start now, maybe they can turn the tides in their favor, at least as far as the mid lane is concerned.
Yeah, Kush staying in the mid lane and actually pushing really aggressively up against Lantern, who has that health advantage. We're seeing the turn around, bombs come flying, but honestly, Corki going incredibly low, and Fun Phoenix caught out in this river, doesn't have the flash up to try to escape Slice, and from the far side tries to peel with their double beat drop, but unfortunately it's not enough, and the Janna will fall. Meanwhile, mid lane, Kush tempting fate up against Landrin.
Yeah, definitely that ult on Silas seems really obnoxious to play against, because he just turned that fight, and now both of them are looking to be about the same health.
Yeah, and Landry just doesn't have the health here to deal with this. They're actually going to be able to get the exchange kill and shut down on it to the Silas, but in turn, they will fall. And so for the time being, Pud's going to continue to be at a small deficit up against Spectre at the 8-minute mark.
Yeah,
You know what?
I
This
think
is not
that's
a small gap. This is actually a pretty substantial gold gap. I misspoke. Sorry, Nakama.
no worries, but I've got to say, definitely probably worth for the Corki there to get the shutdown on the Silas. It looks like the Silas is less overtaking him now, and things might stabilize more in that mid lane, so we might see some better potential for fights, you know?
Yeah, the one thing I will say is that Landrin was struggling a lot when health was even. Kush was actually pushing their advantage while their health was low, and that's why that entire exchange occurred the way that it did. And now that window is kind of closed, Kush is going to be a little bit more even up against Landrin in future engages. So like you're saying, a lot of potential for fights, but honestly, Silas probably needs to ease off the gas just a little bit as their time has come and gone.
True. And, honestly, we're not seeing too much of the team fighting yet, for sure, but after that big fight, of course. But it looks like there's no objectives currently spawned, so definitely once we get something up on the map, we're gonna see more fighting from these two very aggressive teams, it looks like.
Yeah, for sure. Rift Herald claimed by Nerubius. That's, I think, going to be a big tool going forward into this next drag fight. You're going to be able to distract one of these teams, but the question is, who is actually whittling down towers right now? Spectre's been doing a very good job of protecting their plates, and in turn, I don't think that they're actually going to be able to get a super valuable charge out of Shelly, or one that actually threatens the tower's health. This is mostly just going to be for the gold, putting it down onto the Olaf, and hopefully one of the carries of Puds.
Yeah, definitely. Red side is probably gonna look for some lane, some innocent laner to gang up on, and hopefully drop a Shelly down there. And it remains to be seen. Well, I think it might actually be top lane as Olaf is moving towards there.
Yeah, Jodron finally gonna pop a World Ender, but at this point, Nerubius has ghosted on into the lane. Captain Holden with that health advantage. They were fighting in this wave for too darn long, and Aatrox is going to fall to the Olaf. And so this may be the place where Shelly is dropped, just as you were saying, Nakana. That being said, this is a whole lot of focus towards that lane for Puds, and I think Spectre may take this call to start up the dragon.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of focus from red side on that top lane, and I'm not sure if it's just to free up the Maokai to be more of an element in team fights moving forward, and also to increase that pressure on top side, leaving their Aatrox potentially unable to attend the very same fights. So I think it could work for them for sure. I wouldn't want to see that Aatrox in fights when there's already going to be a Sylas and a Sejuani in there.
Yeah, for sure. But I think this focus is paying off. Puds comes out ahead across the map with that fight there. I'd much rather take first tower full gold as well as a kill against this huge carry for Spectre than just grab a second dragon. And so while Spectre is stacking, they have lost that gold lead we were talking about. They're now about 700 gold behind Puds. And Puds, I think, feels that as we're seeing them continue to posture aggressively.
And we're definitely seeing Sylas taking a lot of poke damage from the Corki here. But we also know that the second Sylas jumps on him, all that healing is going to come into play. And it's going to be less in favor of Corki than it is right now.
Yeah, for sure. And we are seeing maybe an attempt at a dive here, but I think that at the same time, learning has bit off way more than they could chew. Encore comes down. Sleasen is able to stay alive, but Janna falls throughout that entire play. And so somehow Spectre still comes out on top with that exchange, even with the misfortune basically completely out of that fight.
Yeah, it looks like red side's bot lane has definitely been suffering a little bit under the various ganks, starting with that very early game cheese gank up to now, where the Amumu of blue side is quite fed, it looks like,
Yeah.
3-0.
Yeah, ultimates are coming out here. Captain Holden knows that Jodron doesn't have a tower to run back to, and Nerubius with the wraparound yet again continues to bully down the Aatrox, sitting at 4 deaths at 12 minutes.
It's very strange to look at the way things are working on both teams. Red side's definitely strong siding their top side, whereas blue side is strong siding their bot side.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Sleasen in a little bit of trouble here, trying to kite back towards the tower, but bullet time is up with the combination of that ultimate and the ignite from Swagasm. The Seraphine will fall, second time's the charm, and this is going to provide a lot of priority for learning to try to beat down this tower in time.
I think it remains to be seen which side's efforts really pay off in the late game, and which team's fed carries are more likely to make a big impact late game. And we know that Olaf isn't the best for late game, so it's interesting to see how that's going to pay off with most of his team's gold on him.
For sure. This has been a bloodbath of a game so far. Kush wants to continue that Everfrost down onto the Corki. Crit from the bush is going to be able to push on in, and the Sylas is able to get this kill. The Amumu now has to back off, and that means that Kush is all alone, getting beaten up by Captain Holden and Sleasen. So at the end of the day, it's a 1-for-1, but the action will continue into the 14th minute.
Yeah, and I've got to say, Sylas is definitely one of those characters that you cannot underestimate going forward into the game. Just there, he was able to steal Seraphine's ult and take a significant chunk of her health.
Yeah, and bot side learning actually able to get a kill in the 2v1, trading out for Fun Phoenix there. Nerubius is absolutely monstrous at this point, though. 5 kills under the belt with that Gorge Reeker completed. That is a champion to watch for Puds.
It looks like blue side is gonna try and take advantage of Olaf's absence to get themselves a Rift Herald. So it remains to be seen where they're going to want to place that, since red side does not seem to be offering contest.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be tough to push up on that top side, given the fact that the tier 1 is already gone in favor of Puds. And so I imagine that trying to free up the mid lane, get a bit of priority over these rivers for Spectre would be their call. But the question is, how is Puds going to respond to that fact? Will they be able to just kind of overload that lane? And I think they have a chance in that raw 5v5 to actually beat back on Spectre and get some solid kills under their belt. Kush in a bit of trouble, has to dash over the wall here with Captain Holden closing on them from topside.
Looks like red side is making a move as a group towards that dragon. Lots of pings coming out here. It remains to be seen if blue side is going to offer contest to this dragon.
Yeah, I imagine that Puds really wants to stop the roll of Dragons for Spectre. Spectre, in turn, though, has that Rift Arrow. They are going to drop it mid. In fact, Captain Holden, so tanky, just able to sustain up against the big Wombo combo from Kush with that Everfrost. Here's the push forward. Shelly going to take down the tower, and this provides a little bit more space for Spectre to fight. But the encore from the backline, Slia said, is going to allow for the team to peel out here. Bullet time just going to go wide, and everybody remains alive on both sides. Narubi is trying to cover around from the far side, get down onto Swagasm and company, but so many of the remaining members of Puds are low. This is going to be a shaky fight either way. Captain Holden trying to get into River. They have the scuttle down, so they are providing vision for their side, and maybe this will allow for them to get on into the river, get a fight around this dragon, and hopefully stop Spectre from getting the soul point.
Yeah, and everyone's here. It just remains to be seen how blue side is going to go about attacking this fight.
Yeah, Swagasm trying to curve around from the far side, but right now, Puds laying a claim to this dragon. It's about at half health. Swagasm needs to make a play to go on in. They have the ultimate available, so that's probably what we're going to be seeing the trigger pulled on. So many other members of Spectre actually backing off here. Landrin tries to push forward. He has his package, and that's enough zoning to make sure that Puds is able to claim that third dragon for themselves. Narubius pushing forward here against Jodron. Jodron still very much behind in this game. Pops World Ender. Swagasm goes in, drops the ultimate down onto the Olaf, who in turn is going to pop the Ragnarok. Everybody's still alive, fighting around this tier 1 bot side, and Puds has a bit of a health advantage, but nobody wants to try to go for the full-on dive, so they're going to back up for the time being. And meanwhile, Swagasm now looking for the re-engage. Kush at their back. Here's the Maokai ultimate from the far side, though. So many members of Spectre are going to be caught there, and they're all rooted up. They're all going low. In turn, Captain Holden taking the brunt of the punishment, though. The shutdown goes over to Lantern from Crit, and so at the end of this one, Puds walks away with only 1 death under themselves and 2 for Spectre. So that's going to be a solid play all around for Red Squad as they continue to remain about even in gold, and now they stop the soul.
Yeah, it's very, very strange how that fight came about. It looked like for a second blue side was just backing off, saying, we have 2 dragons already, they can have this one, we don't have the advantage in this fight. But then the fighting began slowly after the dragon died, and everyone just seemed to be skirmishing, and finally it ended in the death of 2 members for blue side over 1 for red side.
Yeah, and it's an awkward situation. Spectre, they had the stability of that tier 1 turret, but they were taking so much poke from Landrin and Sleasen. I'm surprised that they eventually decided to go in when there really was nothing to claim. You already have knocked down the tier 1 bot for Spectre as well, so it was overall a relatively awkward play, and unfortunately, they get punished.
It's looking like the 2 teams are still pretty even in gold, with blue side still holding the advantage in that aspect. So I think we're going to have to wait to really see who comes out ahead through all of this. There's definitely a lot of mistakes both sides can make right now, and a lot of good plays both sides can make as well.
What worries me is the fact that you have so much gold concentrated on 2 incredibly important members of Puds right now, that Corki and that Olaf. Olaf already at death stance completed 2 items versus the 1 of the Sejuani. And meanwhile, Corki has the Immortal Shield Bow built. I think he may actually be going for nearly full AD here, which is an interesting choice, but it does offset those concerns from earlier in Nakana regarding the fact that so much AP was concentrated on Puds' side.
Yeah, for sure. Although I will say that there is also a lot of gold concentrated onto that Silas. And if blue side can play around that Silas and that Misfortune, who's now starting to put out a lot of damage, we could really see some turning of team fights, especially depending on which ult Silas decides to take and how he chooses to use it in any fight.
Yeah, here's the wraparound from Jodron just trying to get down onto the backline, and Olaf all caught out in the mix of three members of Spectre. Tries to Ragnarok away, but the shutdown goes over to Learning. That's a big chunk of gold for the Misfortune, who's going to continue to be a threat in these fights going forward. Spectre claim themselves one.
Yeah, and definitely we saw the Ragnarok come out from Silas there. A good play to offset the Olaf's own Ragnarok coming out there. And it looks like it worked. And now blue side looks like they're moving on to a Baron here. Remains to be seen.
This might be a dangerous one. Teleport going to be dropped by the Maokai. He's here, ready for the fight. No ultimate. Actually, ultimate just used, excuse me. And here's the catch out. The big purple worm only at half health. Swag as I'm going to be taken down. Captain Holden traded back in kind, though. Didn't have his team there to help support. And I don't think that anybody can actually try to get to the Baron now. Everybody's been taken so low.
Although it definitely looks like blue side is still going to come out on top from that engage because red side lost their Maokai while I guess the gold still is an advantage of blue side, even though the kills were pretty even in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Pud's doing a pretty solid job just making sure that Spectre's game plan is being delayed here. They stopped the Baron take earlier. Before that, they stopped the Dragon, and so they're giving themselves a lot of time to scale. We talked about how powerful Corki is late game alongside Sleasen, and both of these players are slowly beginning to accumulate items, accumulate gold for themselves. The question is, can they answer up against the massive team fighting potential that Spectre has on the roster?
Yeah, and as we're seeing the game go forward, the carries on both sides are continuing to remain powerful, continuing to claim gold. So it might really come down to who plays it better at the end of the day for this game.
Yeah, and everybody's posturing around this X-Dragon. This is going to be a big deciding fight for the game, but because a wipe here could not only mean claiming the drag, but also the Baron Nashor. Teleport being channeled by Corki, getting to this fight as fast as possible. He has the package, but Learning going to clean up the Janna early on in this one. Captain Holden pushes forward. We see the Stolen Encore go down onto the backline. Sleasen has a flashback towards the tower, and now everybody is split here with the jungle topography. Kush has to go golden, but Nerubi is continuing to just stand right on top of the enemy. Corki gets that shutdown. Swagasm dashes over the wall to get a kill for themselves, but it's the triple kill for the Corki. He's online, and now I think we're going to be seeing Puds push forward towards the Dragon.
Ooh, and looks like Sejuani is just going to have to make it out of there, take her losses. Definitely a very interesting fight. Blue side definitely put up a big fight there, but I'm not sure if the location could have been better suited to a fight for blue side. There was an awkward ult from Silas over the wall where he took Seraphines and used it. It was a good ult, but it still may not have been the best to get his team access to the members of red side that they really need to shut down right now.
For sure. I like the fact that Spectre was able to get that call to be able to push for a fight in those choke points, which really benefits the Soul and Seraphine ult. But the problem is there was no follow-up. And speaking of a follow-up, here's the continued chase into the enemy jungle. Crit going to die even within Learning's bullet time. And we see the Great Escape now underway. Fun Phoenix going to sacrifice their life to bait Jodron, but is actually going to get all shielded up with their E and is able to get out alive against the Aatrox. And so Puds once again makes it away with a free kill for themselves.
Really going even at this point. 17 kills to 17 kills. These two teams are just so willing to put up a big fight and get kills over and over again. You know I love this kind of game, but it's quite difficult to see who's really going to come out on top of this at this point.
I will say, I think the scaling is beginning to favor Puds. We saw in that last team fight that Spectre is not really having a great time going for the raw 5v5. Maybe, as you were saying, Nakana, we'll be getting a little bit more of an even exchange if things happen on neutral ground. But for the time being, I think that you have to respect the Corki, you have to respect the Seraphine, and if Silas is in an awkward position or gets caught early, that's one of your big engaged tools gone. You got to be entirely reliant upon Swagasm, who just isn't tanky enough right now to answer back against Landrin.
And it looks like there's a lot of positioning going on around this Baron. And although neither team seems willing to go for it just yet, it's definitely one of those things that Red side currently has, I think, the better position for, while Blue side gets pushed in.
Yeah, big wave clear opportunities now. Sleasen is just able to basically one a shot with their abilities, and Landrin also very much farming on up and doing incredibly well for themselves in that money department. Now 3 items now with the Essence Reaver completed. So Puds, I think, very correct in trying to look for the Baron play, but they can't just do it raw. They need to find a way to pick up a kill, and I'm not exactly sure where that's going to come from, because Spectre definitely playing a little bit further back now, very comfortable to concede a few waves here and there just to try to maintain priority, maintain little bits of tempo where they're actually able to get in and find vision where they so desire. And it looks like that's also around the Baron.
Yeah, I would say that it doesn't look like Red side has the best split push, and they're going to have to send one of their best members, which is Corki, out, who has to teleport in now.
Yeah, Fun Phoenix a little bit caught out here, pushes a forward, still has the ultimate available for themselves, so they're able to preserve that even with that push forward by Crit and company. But now Puds regrouping once again as the 5 stack are in this mid lane now. They really want to take down that tier 1, get a bit of priority from that, and maybe look for an engage afterwards. But now Swagasm and Learning clustered under that tower, ready for the siege to occur.
Definitely interested to see if Red side is really going to try and dive this. Looks like they're going to have to back off here as the minions all die to that misfortune ult. But they're definitely exerting a lot of pressure right now, and I'm not sure how Blue side is going to be able to answer.
And I do think it was a good call there. Learning popping ultimate is a big tool down, but it does repel taking that tower, and it also prevents that dive like you're talking about. Now we're seeing a rotation up to top. Captain Holden wants to go on in. Jodron still under the enemy tower, but Corki caught out in Tribush off of the attempt at a rotation. Will die, and now Captain Holden is in a lot of trouble because that tower is at less than 100 health. It's going to get popped by Learning. Crit goes in onto the Maokai. Maokai continuing to kite back, has the Bramble Smash, will also drop their ultimate to act as peeling, and so they are able to repel the advance of a Spectre. But the pick up against the Corki is terrifying because he doesn't have teleport, and this may give the opportunity Spectre needs to start pushing down these other lanes.
Yeah, there's definitely some pings coming out onto that dragon right now. And that would be an important dragon for Blue side to secure, because then they can just hold the threat over Red side of that soul point coming in for the next dragon.
Yeah, Landrin going to spawn up here, so he will be available in time for the dragon. It's another raw 5v5, but this is now a small 1,000 gold advantage for Spectre, and that could honestly help tilt in favor of one of these champions getting the power spike before the enemy. And now Puds, still confident in their ability to go for the mob, are going to push down mid while Corki handles mid lane before rotating over to the Infernal Drake that is now spawned.
Yeah, and we're gonna see both sides make some advances. Looks like Blue side is gonna take control of that one bush, but they are getting a little surrounded here. I'm not sure if I like their position.
Yeah, Landrin also has the package. That's something to watch out for. Encore going to be channeled. It's the big call for the team fight. Corki dives right on in with that package. Swag has him completely split out here. Crit going to die to Landrin as well for the double-double. And with Kush deep into enemy territory, he's going to get caught out. Give the triple over to the Corki. It's an ace overall for Puds, and they are able to grab themselves Soul Point and probably Baron as well.
That was a very, very unfortunate fight for Blue side. When they got clustered in that bush, and with the various members of Red side just coming around from different sides of them into that Corki package, it was generally a bad situation for them there.
Yeah, Yeah, rough situation all around. We see Silas's pings right there. Misfortune just was unable to find a way to ult and use bullet time. They were just so deep into the melee so quickly because of how well Landron positioned during that one. And with Unleashed Teleport up and a Baron Nashor now in the pockets of Puds, they are so confident in taking a lane and taking this game home.
Yeah, and it remains to be seen if Blue Side can maybe do anything to stave off this Baron Nashor along with the soul point now is in favor of red side from that next dragon. So blue side needs to make some money moves here, as one might say. And I've got to say, they just need to find better locations to fight that extremely AoE oriented team, I would say. You do not want to all be clustered in the same spot when there's a Seraphine and a Corki on the enemy team.
Yeah, I think one of the big dynamics we're seeing is that Kush has to steal an ultimate before a fight, and in doing so, typically has to go deep on up against Puds. That being said, we have some action here in the mid lane. We'll finish that thought later. Here comes the ultimate from Maokai, covering the entirety of the lane. Swagasm going to get hit by the double-double with the Encore as well. Although Maokai pulled under tower here, may not be able to escape. Shutdown goes over to Learning, and now Swagasm wants to try to push back on in. Sleasen gets hit by Sejuani ultimate, but the poke, Landron goes on a rampage. Sleasen able to claim one as well, and so that fight goes in favor of Puds, and they'll continue their push down into the mid lane.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate for blue side here because it looks like their members who got put behind early are just not able to pull back in time. And this is looking like they cannot even win fights against red side under towers.
Yeah, Landron trying to get engaged on by Jodrin, but it's not enough. The Corki is so powerful right now. The double-double and the ace by Nerubius means this game is all but over. Red squad is still super stable here. They want to aim for these Nexus turrets. Corki actually on the back has the teleport, so they're probably just going to use that to return to the melee after picking up yet another item. Swagasm tries to act as a front line here, immediately gets rooted, and Sleasen has got the CDR on lock. There's the second Encore in this team fight. The double kill yet again by the Corki, and Learning leaves the game as Spectre drops this match.
Very, very well played by red side in that match, I've got to say. I think blue side definitely could have focused their main carries more, to really push back on blue side's advantage with all of that.
Mhm.
Wait, I'm getting my colors mixed up. Uh, yes. Silas. Better. Yes. I'm very
Yeah,
good at this.
yeah, I get what you're saying though, Nakana. I think that Spectre you had a very solid early game. Were able to stay incredibly even and actually get the lead on Puds at a few core moments of the game. But unfortunately, their team fight positioning just wasn't all that great. They were stuck in very awkward positions deep into the bot side red jungle. And because of that, you saw how good Corki is up against that kind of topography. Seraphine able to ult down choke points and whatnot. Kind of benefits Silas to a degree because he could just steal those ults back. But the problem is that Silas needed to get deep back towards that backline to get the ultimates, and that just meant that his positioning was off, and he wasn't able to actually dictate the pace of team fights to the degree which a Silas can.
Yeah, and definitely we saw not enough range on that team in general. Misfortune being their only really ranged person. Everyone else was just getting left behind in those fights, it felt like.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunate situation all around for Spectre. They definitely showed why they are the premier team here for the BTL. Really happy to see their performance. Still have some shining spots for themselves, but congratulations to Puds for taking this 2-0. Really explosive games both times around. Lots of fights, lots of action, satisfying both Nakana and I. And I was happy to witness this second game alongside you.
It was very fun. Props to both teams for their performances and wishing them the best of luck going forward.
Yeah, for sure. For those of you just now tuning in, the BTL is going to go on a little bit of a break, but we have another best of 3 coming up in the near future at 9 p.m. EDT. So make sure that you guys are here for that one. It's going to be Shenandoah Esports versus Fantastic Four and Zerathai. Going to be a great best of a 3 to watch, and it's going to be an absolute banger of a game if this Spectre versus Puds match is anything to go by. So yeah, maybe this is the time, get out, stretch your legs a little bit, take a shower tower. That I know that's what I'm going to be doing. So yeah, we'll be back in just a little bit, but make sure that you guys stay tuned here. Keep your eyes peeled for us to go live yet again because there's always great matches here in the BTL.